We have all these metaphors for our minds, right? It's a computer, or maybe it's a library. But what if the best way to understand ourselves is, well, older, heavier, and a lot more elemental? What if our memories are actually like rocks?
Yeah, I know, it sounds a little out there, but trust me on this. If you stick with me, this one question is going to give us this incredible new way to look at how we learn, how we change, and how our past is literally shaping our present, stone by stone.
So, let's start with the most dramatic place possible, with fire. This is our first and most foundational type of memory, the kind that's born from some really intense heat. These are our molten insights.
Okay, so in geology, igneous rocks are what you'd call primary. They are brand new land created completely from scratch when superhot magma or lava cools down and becomes solid. Just picture a volcano erupting. It's creating something totally new and solid from the raw, liquid heat deep inside the earth.
And that right there is a perfect picture of a certain kind of memory. These are the insights that are forged in the really hot moments of your life. Major crisis, a huge revelation, a moment of intense love or grief. Those times when your normal way of thinking just kind of liquefies. All your assumptions melt away, and in that space, something entirely new can take shape. And this actually happens in two different ways. On the one hand, you've got your intrusive insights. Think of these like granite. They cool really slowly, deep down in your subconscious, and they crystallize over months or even years into these big, solid core concepts. But then you have the extrusive kind. These are like obsidian or volcanic glass. They cool instantly, right at the surface. These are your aha moments, those sudden, brilliant shower thoughts that seem to come out of nowhere. And that's the thing about those sudden, extrusive insights. They are absolutely brilliant, for sure, but they can be incredibly brittle. If you don't grab a pen and write them down or tell someone right away, poof, they can shatter and just disappear as quickly as they showed up.
All right, so we've talked about those fiery, volcanic moments. Now let's shift gears to a second type of memory, one that's much quieter, a whole lot slower, and is built layer by tiny layer over time. These are our accumulated lessons.
So unlike igneous rocks, which are totally new, sedimentary rocks are made from stuff that was already there. We're talking about tiny fragments, little grains of sand, bits of shell, dust, that all settle down in layers. And over thousands, even millions of years, the pressure from the layers above compacts it all into solid rock.
And this is exactly how so much of our understanding is built, isn't it? It's not from one big, dramatic event. It's from the slow accumulation of countless small, everyday experiences. It's how you develop your gut feelings, your taste in movies, or your social skills. It's the sheer weight of your lived experience, all compacted into solid knowledge.
We can even get more specific. Think of your sandstone memories. You can still see the individual grains of sand, those specific incidents you can point to that taught you something. Then you've got limestone memories. These are built from millions of tiny organic fragments, all the little micro-interactions that formed, say, your sense of humor. And finally, there's shale. This is the dense, compressed, fine-grained data of daily life. It's tough to pick apart the individual layers, but it holds a massive amount of information about who you are.
All right, let's move on to our third and final category, and you'll see how this all builds. This, to me, is where it gets really, really interesting. Because now we're not creating new material, and we're not just accumulating old bits, we're actually transforming what is already there.
See, in geology, metamorphism is what happens when you take a rock that already exists, say a piece of limestone, and you subject it to intense heat and pressure. And here's the key. It doesn't melt back into magma. Instead, its internal crystal structure realigns and changes. The limestone becomes marble. The original material's all still there, but it's been transformed into something completely new.
This is exactly what happens in our minds. A metamorphic memory is when you take an old experience and you re-examine it under new pressure, the pressure of an adult perspective or new information you've learned or maybe insight from therapy. You're not erasing the memory, you're fundamentally restructuring what it means.
Okay, check this out. It's a perfect example. Your original sedimentary memory is simple. My parents were strict, a solid fact. But then, years later, you apply pressure, new context, reflection, learning about their own lives. That memory doesn't just disappear. It metamorphosizes. It transforms into a new understanding. My parents were anxious, and that anxiety came out as being strict.
See what happened there? The basic facts didn't change at all. The raw material is exactly the same. But by applying that new psychological pressure, you've created a completely new internal structure for that memory. You've found a new and maybe much deeper meaning.
So we've got our 3 types of memory: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. But the really beautiful part of this whole idea is that these aren't just 3 separate boxes. Just like in nature, they are all part of a constant, dynamic, incredible cycle.
That's right. Your mind isn't some static museum with perfectly labeled rock formations. No way. It's an active, living planet, constantly weathering, compacting, and reshaping your understanding of the world and of yourself.
Let's just trace the cycle for a second. Think about some huge, dramatic aha moment you had years ago. That was a powerful igneous insight. Well, over time, that pure certainty might get weathered down by doubt or by new experiences that complicate it.
And what happens to the pieces? The fragments of that original brilliant insight. They break down, they settle, and they become just another layer in that slow, patient buildup of your everyday sedimentary knowledge. Or, hey, let's take another path in the cycle. That solid foundation of your accumulated sedimentary understanding, everything you think you know for sure, could suddenly be put under immense pressure by a life change or a huge new challenge.
And that pressure can literally cook and transform that everyday knowledge into something entirely new, a restructured, metamorphic wisdom that lets you see all the old facts in a completely different and maybe much clearer light.
And finally, the cycle can come all the way back around. In a moment of total crisis or transformation, everything, sedimentary, metamorphic, all of it, can just melt down. The structures you've built your life on can dissolve back into molten chaos, which of course creates the perfect conditions to form brand new, primary, igneous insights all over again.
So when you think about your own mind from now on, don't just see a jumble of thoughts and memories. See a vast geological landscape. See the volcanic mountains of insight, the solid bedrock of your experience, and the transformed canyons of wisdom you've carved over time. The only real question left is, as the geologist of your own mind, what will you choose to build with?